Talk about that for a minute, because this is, again, I think, an important distinction or delineation between how you measure, performance marketing is really important, to be
Yeah.
able to measure, okay, all right, we're gonna make a product, we're gonna advertise it, and then we're gonna measure how many sales we got from it, and that's our return on the investment, right? The net revenue, or profit after all the operational costs. And then there's branding or brand building, and some of this is hard to measure with ROI traditionally. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably you can't.
Right.
So how do you think about it? Because it ultimately has to come out of a bucket of, whether you call that a cost center or comes out of a P&L. How do you look at an opportunity like that with ROI branding versus like performance marketing, where it's very measurable?
Yeah, it's the age old question. I think everyone's always trying to figure it out. And what I would tell people is you got to do everything well. Unfortunately, there's not some silver bullet where, I do this really well. And in fact, if you don't do everything well, if you're just so focused on branding or so focused on performance, you're going to end up hurting yourself, because you're going to be stuck in one lane of the marketing mix, call it. And so, yeah, you have to be spending on performance marketing where you can track the return and understand how to acquire customers. Then you have to be spending on building the brand where it's not as trackable, and that'll actually make your performance work better, because it's like, oh, I saw these guys at the UFC event when my paid ad hits on Amazon. Now they're more likely to convert on it. So sampling, getting your product in people's hands, experiential marketing, you have to do everything well, and then you have to find the mix that works the best for your brand. And that's going to change over time too. So early on, you may have to be spending typically more on performance, because the dollars really got to work for you. I would just say the one pitfall is people kind of ignore brand early on because of that. And they kind of get lost in the meta D2C loophole. And that's kind of that's like a drug. You're only as good as your last hit, as your last click.
Yeah.
As soon as you stop paying that money, if it's all DR advertising based, you don't mean anything to anybody, and your brand can't live on its own.
Yeah. Or one algorithm changed the ROAS.
Right.
If it's like you're used to getting 7x or 10x ROAS, and suddenly now it's 2x, 3x, it changes, right?
Right. Overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, do it all well, find out what works, and then evolve it as your business grows. And and have fun with what you're doing, on the branding side, or have it mean something. It doesn't have to be fun, and just go build that. And that doesn't need to cost a lot of money in the beginning. That's where we kind of learned the guerrilla tricks. So you should always be a guerrilla building your brand, and don't use the excuse of, oh, well, we just don't have the funds to build a brand, all that stuff. We never had the funds. We built a brand. So it's not about the resources. Be resourceful, be creative, find ways to get your brand out there.
I love that. As we're rounding third, coming home here, I also heard you talk about your philosophy on luck. Would you share that a little bit with us here? Because I thought it was profound.
Yeah.
You got to ask the question, how much of your success is luck and how much of it is a skill? Talk about your philosophy on luck.
Yeah, I mean, my name may be Sean Patrick Riley, but I don't believe in leprechauns. I don't believe in luck either. And that's not some ego thing or anything like that. It's really based in a pure belief of the law of attraction, and that the universe is a random place and there's random things happening all the time, good, bad, ugly. And what you are doing is continuously tweaking your mindset and your actions towards the goals that you want. And things are going to go up and down all along the way. And I just think if somebody asks you what luck had to do with it, well, what do you mean, bad luck, good luck? Bad things happen, good things happen. That it's all that stuff. The harder I work, the luckier I got. Don't throw luck out into the wind of, that's kind of like getting stuck in that idea phase. Once you start executing, you start pursuing a goal and taking so much action over it, and you realize how slow it moves, attributing anything to luck is just going to kind of slow you down and take the magic out of it. Just attribute random things are going to happen. They're going to be good and bad. I'm going to work very hard towards these goals. I'm going to keep learning and tweaking and setting and visualizing and executing. And I'm going to be on a path, and maybe things will shoot up here and shoot down there. But I think luck it's a word that we made up as humans to account for just why did that happen, and yeah,
Well, I think it's smart because it also kind of diminishes our own awesomeness.
for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Like I rubbed the genie bottle and like Dude Wipes came out and then we got into Walmart, wow, look at this,
And the other thing that strikes me too, just from personal experience, is that success and failure, if there are those two, some will say sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Right.
But let's say you do say, I had a legitimate failure. Fine. I have experienced, and I'm sure you can relate too, both are temporary. Success is temporary. Failure is temporary. It's just
Right.
like sort of this undulation of back and forth. Like sometimes things go well because they go well, certain factors. People
Right.
make certain decisions that are beyond your control. But it doesn't make you any less awesome,
For sure.
right?
Yeah. And like what is good luck is because you had the success and you made some money during it, or like what are you even defining it as? Like that's not happiness or fulfillment either.
Yeah.
The money and all of that stuff is not really at the end of the day what's going to make you happy. So like a business growing to like luck just doesn't seem like right to me. And people always argue timing, but I'm like, you're doing things because you see something in the market. Like I'm a crypto guy and crypto's booming and I invest a bunch of money and I make a bunch of money and then I get out. Like that's not good timing. That's paying attention to what's going on, executing against it and making some money or losing your ass. You know what I mean? But it's like people who are paying attention, they're designing what's happening. They're not just randomly falling into the .com burst,
Can I share a couple of these invention ideas I've got with you?
Yeah, shoot.
Give you some. So since I have two ideas. So when I was in college, and it's sort of in the health and wellness category, so you can appreciate this. One of the problems I had, and I was thinking, I was in the shower one day, as one is, thinking about the world and
Yeah.
inventions.
Shower ideas.
I get some of my best ideas in the shower and driving, and I noticed that it was really difficult to wash my back. And I had one of those like loofah things on a stick, and I was like, man, this is not great. Like I can get some coverage, but I can get the front proper clean.
Yeah.
No worries there. Like, everything gets clean on the front, the back, wherever I can reach.
What's going on back there?
But like to get my back or, properly, get the whole back is difficult. And then, so I started looking around the market, and there's like a thing on a rope, and you can kind of, rope the sponge back there and kind of get a little bit more coverage, but it's still awkward, not comfortable. So I dreamed up this idea based on, have you ever seen like a grizzly bear in the wild, when it goes up to a tree and it kind of rubs its back on a tree? I thought that'd be awesome to have like a really great suction cup, like unit goes onto the shower wall. You can place it wherever, if you're taller, you place it taller. If you're shorter, you put it shorter. And that unit kind of sticks in there. And then you have a separate kind of lock-in piece, like, and it's like the either the loofah or the sponge. You can lather that thing up, and then you go, and I thought I'd call it the bareback scrubber.
There you go.
Sort of a play on words.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Instead of BEAR, I'd call it the BARE, bareback scrubber. But you sort of get that vision in your head. And so I have that product I've been just thinking about for all these years. And then
I like it.
you like it?
Yeah. It's unique, right? It's different, and that's what you need to kind of break through. And yeah, I could see people mounting that up and rubbing their backs on it for sure.
Yeah, and I sampled the idea. Like I auditioned it with a few different friends, and some were like, you know what, my grandma tells me like,
Yeah.
when you get older, it's you're not as flexible, or if you're super muscular, you can't even you don't have much flexibility. And then I started thinking, it'd be great to have like at my gym, but just like the the attachment unit, and you bring in your own custom sponge or whatever, so that you could use your own personal one. It could lock in. Of course, you look at toothbrushes these days, and they have the electric toothbrush.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Have an iteration
little
of that.
car wash style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your
Focus on the one market though.
Yeah.
Don't go consumer and B2B.
Oh, okay.
That's something people like when you first have an idea, it's like, oh, I could sell it to the gyms, or I could sell, like, those are two separate different things.
Yeah.
And so those sales to businesses are really tough.
Yeah.
Bureaucratic stuff, politics. We don't want to spend the money. How does this thing work? We're selling to consumer it's online. This
Yeah.
is great. So like I would sell it to the consumer online. And I think it's easily a multi-million-dollar online only business.
Yeah.
And that to me is what I tell people, that's your first goal. And then it's like, okay, because by the time you do that, you're going to iterate it, you're going to tweak it, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, you're going to change the logo, blah, blah, blah. You're going to tweak the marketing. Okay, now I'm ready to talk to a retailer. Now I'm ready to take it to the next level. But also at the same time, I know plenty of people who have make a couple $1 million with a gadget on the internet. And they sit around and, collect $500,000 cash a year off of it, off of no salaries or anything like that. And so, sometimes I think that helps people break down the idea to like a really small goal. Like when you said, like, how did you get this job or whatever? Like I only had to sell $1 million of dude wipes to have a job a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then it starts to be like, okay, well, that's the first goal. Like get a paycheck coming in and stuff like that. So yeah, always just like break it down real small and go after it.
Yeah, I could see it being an Amazon, fulfillment kind of product, but also a TikTok product.
Oh, for sure. TikTok
shop product.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of novel and interesting, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have a million of these ideas. But it sounds
Just
like
don't tell me you're going to license it out to somebody. That's the entrepreneur idea thing where I have this idea. Do you think anybody would buy it off of me and license it? No one's going to buy anything off of you that you haven't sold or done anything with. Like never going to happen. So if anybody's listening out there, no one is going to buy your licensed idea. People will buy your execution. People will buy something you've done and sales you've grown. People will buy $1 million Amazon business off of you. But no one will ever buy your licensed idea.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from.